for everybody. It ain't 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 for everybody. Yeah, many you call, but few get chosen. Matthew 22:14. My righteousness gonna exceed that of the Pharisees.
If you're looking for high quality clothing at affordable costs, check out peculiarapparel.com. My name is Dawad.
And I'm Shayar, and we are the owners of Peculiar Apparel. All of our products are made with 100% natural fabrics, no mixed materials.
We have t-shirts for the man, woman, and child. These can be purchased with or without fringes.
Our women's line of t-shirts currently do not include fringes, but if that's something you desire, send us a DM at peculiarapparel_ on Instagram, or send us an email at help@peculiarapparel.com.
So once again, that is peculiarapparel.com.
Peculiar Apparel for peculiar people.
Drink good, let it replay. We bring it back to the holy days. Babylon, what we celebrate the Lord's day. I give a toast on the feast day. Eat that, we drink good, let it replay. We bring it back to the holy days. Babylon, what we celebrate the Lord's day. I give a toast on the feast day to all my loved ones no longer here, they passed away. I give a toast on the feast day to all my saints that repented and that changed their ways. I give a toast on the feast day, cause we don't celebrate holidays on heathen ways. I give a toast. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom, family.
Shalom.
So, first, we just want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, whose name is Yahweh. We do so by Shem Yahweh Shai. That's in the name of his only begotten Son, who we know as Yahweh Shai, who most around the world know as Jesus Christ. And so we're a little late today, y'all, because just we've been having a lot of stuff going on over here. I just got through off a 8-hour drive and was just kind of rushing, trying to get everything in because I keep the lunar Sabbath and our Sabbath starts tonight. So trying to get these last minute errands done so I can be able to sit down and be able to present a lesson. All praise to the Most High. He made it possible, even though it's a little late, still made it possible. And the lesson that we're going to go into today is about the prophetic book of Habakkuk Chapter 3. Because I went into the first 2 chapters earlier, I think about a couple months ago. And I wanted to go ahead and continue and finish chapter 3. So this ain't going to be a long lesson at all because this is a short chapter. And just going to basically read this chapter, give the sense on these verses, certain verses that are important for us to know the meaning and the reason why this book is important to us, because it's a book of prophecy. And also grab some precepts to kind of help support what I'm saying and how I'm breaking the scriptures down. So, Ak, if you could, if you got anything, you can say something too, Ak Salaki. And the water for joining Ak just late, getting on this stream with me. All praise to the Most High for that.
All praises. Once again, peace and blessings, family. Shalom. Just like always, I would say just to make sure to like or heart the video and also share the video. And if you're able to utilize the @highlight feature so that you could ping all of your friends and family on your list to the video so that they could watch it in live time. And also for the people that watch after the fact, just do the same. Make sure to like or heart the video and also to share and utilize the @highlight feature. And like I put in the chat, in case the brother has me read anything, if it's real loud in my background, Salakia in advance, they're going crazy with the fireworks. It's a so-called holiday today. I'm sitting here and my mic is muted, and all of the noise that's coming from the fireworks, like when you're on StreamYard, when you make a lot of noise, it'll say your mic is muted because it thinks you're trying to speak. So from the fireworks, it thinks I'm trying to speak. So that's how crazy they're going. But yeah, just want to say that. But I yield to you, brother.
I remember we heard a little bit on your end last year. You said the same thing. They was going crazy with the fireworks, and we heard a couple of little pops. It wasn't too bad though. It wasn't like super loud. So all praise to the Most High for that. And and everybody, yeah. Shalom, brother Deward. Yeah, time for a new commercial. Come on with it. But the water everybody that's tuned in, if you could go ahead, like, share, comment, let us know you're here. You know, all praise to the Most High for you being able to join the stream, and for everybody that's able to watch this stream at a later time. We ask that you do the same because it helps other people be able to be alerted to it when they see you react to it, comment on it, and we all know it's important, the salvation of our people. So all praise to the Most High. And if you have the highlight feature, like the sister Wendy, brother Aaron, I have done, we were able to use the highlight feature. Some people have this feature, some people don't. If you do have it at your disposal, we ask that you use this feature so that it can help alert everybody on your friends list. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into it. And if you could get your screen shared, and I'll start reading Habakkuk 3 once you get there.
Come.
And like I said, y'all, it's a short chapter, it'll be a short lesson, a short breakdown. So this is Habakkuk 3, starting at verse 1. A prayer of Habakkuk, the prophet, upon Shigionoth. O Lord, I have heard thy speech and was afraid. O Lord, revive thy work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make known. In wrath, remember mercy. God came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran, Selah. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise, and his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. Before him went the pestilence, and burning coals went forth at his feet. He stood and measured the earth. He beheld and drove asunder the nations, and the everlasting mountains were scattered. The perpetual hills did bow. His ways are everlasting. I saw the tents of Cushan in affliction, and the curtains of the land of Midian did tremble. Was the Lord displeased against the rivers? Was thine anger against the rivers? Was thy wrath against the sea, that thou didst ride upon thine horses and thy chariots of salvation? Thy bow was made quite naked, according to the oaths of the tribes, even thy word, Selah. Thou didst cleave the earth with rivers. The mountains saw thee, and they trembled. The overflowing of the water passed by. The deep uttered his voice and lifted up his hands on high. The sun and moon stood still in their habitation, and at the light of thine arrows they went, and at the shining of thy glittering spear thou didst march through the land in indignation. Thou didst thresh the heathen in anger. Thou wentest forth for the salvation of thy people, even for salvation with thine anointed. Thou woundest the head of the house of the wicked by discovering the foundation unto the neck, Selah. Thou didst strike through with his staves the head of his villages. They came out as a whirlwind to scatter me. Their rejoicing was as to devour the poor secretly. Thou didst walk through the sea with thine horses, through the heap of great waters. When I heard, my belly trembled, my lips quivered at the voice. Rottenness entered into my bones, and I trembled in myself, that I might rest in the day of trouble. When he cometh up unto the people, he will invade them with his troops. Although the fig tree shall not blossom, neither shall fruit be in the vines, the labor of the olive shall fail, and the field shall yield no meat. The flock shall be cut off from the fold, and there shall be no herd in the stalls. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation. The Lord God is my strength, and he will make my feet like hinds' feet, and he will make me to walk upon mine high places, to the chief singer on my stringed instruments. and they going crazy in the background with the fireworks over here too. I don't know if y'all can hear it, but that's the end of the chapter. So basically, with what we see with this chapter, we see a lot of judgment being pronounced that's going to come upon our enemies, upon the heathen, those that the Most High God has wrath and indignation toward for the things that they've done. But also, when we say for the things they've done, they were destined to do these things before the foundation of the earth. So it's not for what they've done. It's just because there was a promise before the earth was founded that some people were going to be for judgment and wrath, and some people were going to be for a blessing upon the earth, who the Most High God favored. But I want to go back and look at verse 3. I'm going to read verse 3. And it reads, God came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran, Selah. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise. Could you grab for me in Hebrew the name Teman and the name also Paran?
Con. So this is Strong's H8487 Teman, which is it says south for the outline of biblical usage. And it says son of Eliphaz, grandson of Esau, and one of the dukes of Edom. The tribe descended from one noted for the wisdom of its people. The region occupied by the descendants of one located east of Idumea. And then it says the name of two Edomites and of the region, and descended of one of them.
Con. So we see that this name or this place is also being parallel with two Edomites. And we see also, like when we look at C, the proper locative noun, the region occupied by the descendants of one located east of Idumea. So this is dealing with those Edomites or those Idumeans who we know are enemies of the Most High God and his children. Grab Paran.
Okay. So this is
damn with them fireworks. I hear him over there.
You get
sound like somebody beating on some aluminum or something.
God. This is H6290 Paran, and it says place of caverns, and this is outline of biblical usage. And then it says wilderness area bounded on the north by Palestine, on the west by the wilderness of Atham, on the south by the desert of Sinai, and on the east by the valley of Arabah. The exodus was through this area, and probably all 18 stops were in this area. I mean, the definition, it says a desert of Arabia, Paran.
And read the first part of the Hebrew Chaldee lexicon.
Okay. So it says, again, it's Paran, and it says a region abounding in foliage from the root. Going forward, it says abounding in caverns. And then it says of an uncultured and mountainous region lying between Arabia, Petria, Palestine, and Idumea.
Con. So we see these different places is saying where the Lord is coming from. This is where God has came from. So I'm going to read this again in context, the first two verses again, before we look back at verse 3. It says, the prayer of Habakkuk, the prophet, upon Shigionoth. O Lord, I have heard thy speech and was afraid. So why is Habakkuk afraid of the speech that he's hearing from the Lord? He's going to let us know why. It says, "O Lord, revive thy work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make known." How he gonna make it known? In wrath, remember mercy. So once we get to verse 3, it talks about him coming from these places. These places are the places where he's going to show his wrath. These are the enemies of the children of Israel. And if he's saying in wrath, remember mercy, the mercy is for the Israelites. But in his wrath, he's going to have wrath on the enemies and have mercy on us and deliver us out of the captivity that we're in. And this is the same thing that we see, the same thing we see throughout the Bible. This always happens. The Israelites, they go and start being wicked. They serve idols and all that. And he eventually is merciful, but he's merciful through his wrath on our enemies, and he delivers us from them. So give me Isaiah 63 verses 1 through 4.
Khan. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 63, starting at verse 1. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come.
Khan, this is the perfect precept of what he's speaking about, what the prophet Habakkuk is speaking about. Isaiah was speaking of the same thing, that vengeance was going to be the Lord. And it starts off with verse 1 saying, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, travailing in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. So he's able to save in his wrath. He's able to have wrath on the enemies and deliver the ones who he loves. And by showing his mercy, he delivers us from our enemies. So let's if you want to add something, you can before I continue to go forward, because I'm going to go back to Habakkuk 3.
And what you had read earlier in chapter 3, when we went into Teman, in that definition, I thought it was interesting. Let me pull it back up. I thought that was interesting in the definition when it spoke about like the place of wisdom. Oh, can you hear me?
Khan. Yeah, I thought you was going to talk about the two Edomites. You talking about another point.
Oh yeah, Khan. I thought you said I was muted. I was like, man, I was.
Nah.
Oh, praise. But when you look at outline 2, I thought this was interesting. I never looked at this. It said the tribe descended from one noted for the wisdom of his people, right? Mm-hmm. So when you look at and I think this is touched on because this is kind of mirrored in Obadiah 1, which is like, we already know what that's going into. Mm-hmm. But this is spoken about in Jeremiah 49. I'm gonna read it. It says a prophecy against Edom. That's what the scholars put, right? It says, concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him. So again, like even dealing with Teman, like they're supposed to, apparently that they were supposed to be, the brains of Edom, right? And I've even heard, and again, you can take this however you will, but a lot of people would say that you see like the German scientists and stuff like that, they link them to the people of Teman, right? And you could kind of, I could understand the parallel, but it's like my main point is this: like dealing with the wrath that's going to come upon them is going to be questioned. Like, did their wisdom vanish? Like what happened, to this great people? So I just wanted to point that out, and I thought that was an interesting point that the scholars have put, within that biblical usage. But I pass it back to you, Out.
Beautiful point to harp on, and beautiful precept. All praise to the Most High, man. All praises, and
All praise.
it's just it's so beautiful because we can go to so many different prophets and actually link this prophecy that Habakkuk is speaking of. Just like the brother mentioned, Obadiah is one chapter we can go to, or one book that's actually just it's a chapter, but the prophets spoke the same thing. It was no difference in speech or no different in meaning of speech, even though there were differences in speech. They meant the same thing. They spoke the same things because the Most High was revealing these things, these secrets to his prophets. And even at the time, the current time, the modern day we're living in, we're able to understand these things because the Most High has given us the similar spirit to those prophets of old, where we're able to understand and see the justice, see the judgment that the Most High God is going to have and the mercy he's going to have on Israel, and understand it. Because some people, when you tell them this, they're like, man, I don't know what kind of God you serve. What do you mean, bro? I'm reading what the scriptures say, what the prophets spoke, what God told his prophets, his holy prophets, that he was going to do. But people will look at God as if he's unjust or something. And it's not that they're looking at God as if he's unjust. They look at you as if you're unjust for giving them the prophecies that the Bible speak of, because they believe he loves everybody and he's just going to have mercy on everybody. But that's not what the Bible say. And these prophecies have to come to pass. So let's look back at verse 4 in Habakkuk 3. And it says, and his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. Let's grab horns in Hebrew.
Gone.
I had a brother tell me, man, y'all go into the blue letter Bible. You ain't got to do that. That's what you got precepts for. Well, you go into the language and you also use precepts. It just makes it more profound so people understand it ain't just you giving your own understanding. This is what it means.
Gone. This is H7161 Keren, which outline of biblical usage: horn of strength, figuratively, flask, horn as a musical instrument, horn-like projections on the altar, and then of rays of light, hill, and then it says a place conquered by Israel, probably in Bashan. And then definition, it says a flask, cornet by resemblance, an elephant's tooth, a corner of the altar, a peak of a mountain, a ray of light, figuratively, power.
What I love so much about going to the outline of biblical usage is like a multiple choice test. And when you start to look at them and you try to apply it in context, you use context clues in whatever you're reading, and you apply the context to the usage to see where it would fit and what makes sense. So we see number 2, of strength, figuratively. And we read verse 4 again. It says, and his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand. So the Most High God or the Messiah, they have strength coming out of their hands, right? And there was the hiding of his power. And also another way that you can apply this, if you could scroll back down to the outline of biblical usage, because I believe that this is twofold. This is speaking of two different things. One is that strength. And also, once we go to this strong definition, it says a horn as projecting by implication of flash, cornet by resemblance, an elephant's tooth, a corner, a peak of a mountain, a ray of light, figuratively power. So a peak of a mountain would symbolize the top or when you look at rulership, the person who's on the peak of the mountain would be the person that's in rulership, right? So you look at this and you look at this from two different standpoints. It said his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. So if he has these horns in his hands, he has these different kingdoms also in his hands. They're in his power. He can control what they can do and can't do. And we know that this is what happens at the end of time. Once this time frame is over, and the Most High God starts to usher in the kingdom. So it says, and there was the hiding of his power. So the hiding of someone's power, basically, he can do more than what he's showing. He can actually destroy things that he wanted to destroy in a millisecond, just like that. But he holds back. And that shows how powerful he really is and how merciful he is also. So that he's allowing certain things to happen before he acts in the way that he could have been acting. So he's hiding his power, but he's also using righteous judgment in order to make things line up the way that he wants them to, as far as us repenting, coming back to him. So he's hiding his power. So, Ak, if you could give me Daniel 7, verses 23 through 27.
Con. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, starting at verse 23. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times, until a time and times, and the dividing of time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him.
Con, and I'm just going here just to show and establish the point I was making about the horns being kings or being kingdoms, basically him having them in his hand. So there's nothing that the United States, Europe, Russia, Germany, whoever are ruling in these different kingdoms are doing that he's not allowing them to do, because he's hiding his power. He's allowing them to do what they're doing because it's all going to work according to his plan and according to his purpose. So, just to show and establish the point I was saying about the horns, the scripture shows us exactly that this is exactly what it means. So let's go back to Habakkuk 3. And I'm going to look at verse 5. It says, before him went the pestilence, and burning coals went forth at his feet. So we know that this is speaking of judgment also. This is still continuing to show judgment. And a pestilence, when a pestilence goes out on the land, this could be anything from sending plagues of locusts or any kind of bugs that can basically feed on your crops, keep you from being able to eat them, from different diseases coming upon people. These are different ways that we know that the Most High moves, because we've seen it before. We saw it in Egypt, the way he did Pharaoh and the Egyptians. So it's just talking about this judgment that he's going to have on our enemies. So let's look at verse 8 and 9. It says, and we have to keep in mind when we start to see this verbiage in 8 and 9, that there were certain things that he did to the Egyptians, as far as like the rivers turned into blood. So was he mad with the rivers, the oceans? No, he wasn't mad with the rivers of the oceans, but they were in his power to do whatever he wanted to them, to make judgment come upon the land. So we're going to read verse 8 and 9. It says, was the Lord displeased against the rivers, Was thine anger against the rivers? Was thy wrath against the sea, that thou didst ride upon thine horses and thy chariots of salvation? So riding upon those horses and chariots of salvation symbolizes the Most High God actually moving with judgment. It says, thy bow was made quite naked, according to the oaths of the tribes, even thy word. We know what the oaths to the tribes were, that he was going to deliver us. He was going to grant salvation to us, the 12 tribes of Israel. And it says that his bow was made naked. So if you got a quiver full of arrows and you got a bow and you just continue to shoot those arrows, you hitting something because you at war. And he said he made his bow naked. So he's going to continue to show judgment until he runs out of ammo, which he won't run out of ammo. He'll just be finished with his judgment. And how he proposes judgment to be done upon these different nations is going to happen just the way that he said it until he's finished. So, Ak, if you want to add something, you can before I continue going forward. I don't want to go too fast, too far.
Nah, nothing to add, King. All praises.
So, verse 10, it says, the mountains saw thee, and they trembled. The overflowing of the water passed by. The deep uttered his voice and lifted up his hands on high. So, the mountains seeing thee, those in rulership, they're able to see the judgment that the Most High God is going to bring on their kingdom. We know that right now, they may try to keep it quiet or try to hide it and act like it ain't as serious as it is, but the dollar's about to crash in America. This economy is going down. What do they call it? Inflation. We see inflation. We see all these different signs of the kingdom starting to fail. And it's starting to wither because the Most High God in his time will tear it completely down. And these are the things that we're seeing start to happen. And the Most High God will be done, regardless of what someone wants, as far as wars, as far as rumors of wars or anything happening concerning prophecy. Let's read. I'm gonna reread verses 11 through 13, and I'm gonna give a precept. And so before I do that, I'm gonna reread the back end of verse 10. It says, the overflowing of the water passed by. The deep uttered his voice and lifted up his hands on high. And so, like, this is even dealing with these storms and things we see coming. They're basically executing the will of the Father. They're doing what the Father wants them to do. And people, they get so upset when they see these things start to come. But they have a purpose, and the Father's will is being done. And they're praising him with everything they do, just like the stars, the sun, and the moon when they work in their office. But I'll continue going with verses 11 through 13. It says, the sun and moon stood still in their habitation. At the light of thine arrows they went, and at the shining of thy glittering spear. Thou didst march through the land in indignation. Thou didst thresh the heathen in anger. Thou wentest forth for the salvation of thy people, even for salvation with thine anointed. Thou woundest the head out of the house of the wicked, by discovering the foundation unto the neck. Salah. And brother, give me Revelation 6, verses 12 through 17.
Gone. (12 through 17). God, it's the book of Revelation, chapter 6, starting at verse 12. It says, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand?
Khan, all praises. Someone without understanding would be concerned and conflicted if you tell them, this is what I'm waiting on. I can't wait till this happen. This is what we waiting on, the sixth seal. And this is what Habakkuk is talking about in chapter 3. He's speaking of these things that are going to happen in this sixth seal. We're waiting for these things to start to happen so that the Most High God can usher the kingdom in. And these things are going to help usher the kingdom in. When we see these signs, these certain things start to happen. These mighty men start to come down and be humbled. And the Most High God starts to have fury upon these nations and these kingdoms where he wants his judgment to rest upon these people for the wickedness that they have done. These are the things we're hoping for. And, all praise to the Most High that we're living in the times that we're living in, where we see certain signs that make it seem as if it's going to happen in our generation. And all praise to the Most High, man. We are pretty much done. I ain't want to go too much into this chapter because, this chapter is basically what I've shown and laid out, that it's speaking of judgment on the nations. And in order for this judgment to happen and to be laid on the feet, upon the feet and the doorstep of the nations, we have to continue to be diligent, keep these commandments, have faith in his son, and continue to do the work. So I got one more scripture, 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 17 through 19.
God. This is the book of 1 Peter chapter 4, and starting at verse 17. For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first began at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of God? And if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? Wherefore, let them that suffer according to the will of God commit the keeping of their souls to him in well-doing, as unto a faithful creator.
All praises. And this is something that I think, people don't harp on enough or think about enough, is that, when it says, for the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end of them that obey not the gospel of God? So with us that proclaim that we follow the Messiah, we proclaim that we keeping the commandments, the Most High God is going to start to separate the wheat from the tares. It's going to be drastic events. Things are going to happen to people who claim to serve the living God, because his judgment has to start with us. He has to clean this thing and refine us through this fire so that those who are actually living in the correct way that the Most High God approves of can be symbols and can be examples of how things are supposed to be, so that we can be a light to our people and also a light to the other nations, for them to look at us and say, yeah, those are truly the children of the Most High God. It says, and if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? So it's telling us, y'all, if we are actually righteous, we actually live in the way we're supposed to live, we scarcely gonna be saved. So this is something that should humble anybody and not make you feel like, hey man, I'm doing enough. Shoot, I know I'm gonna get it now. And should nobody be walking around here talking about they know they gonna get it now, or that they know that they the elect, that they one of the 144,000, they gonna sit on thrones with the Messiah. Nobody should be saying that. We should be humble and hoping and wishing, and like, man, I hope I'm one of the anointed, the one of the that's gonna be part of the 144,000 sitting on the throne. And if not, I'll be happy with being part of the multitude. Father, just let me be saved. Just let me be delivered and not forsaken. It says, wherefore let them that suffer according to the will of God commit the keeping of their souls to him in well-doing, as unto a faithful creator. So that should always and also encourage us that regardless of anything that we're going through currently, that we're going to go through, if we're doing it for the will of the Father and we're following after the Messiah, it's okay. You're going to go through ups and downs. You're going to go through trials, but your faith should bring you out of it. You should know he's going to deliver you because you're doing the things necessary that he actually approves of and that helps you survive through these times that we're going through. So with that, I just want to say all praise to the Most High God, Yahweh, and I do so by Shem, Yahweh Shai, or Jesus Christ, in the name of Jesus Christ. And if you got anything you get to add, you can.
Excellent lesson. And it just one point I thought about this because I was, my goodness,
They going to town over there, you know.
God, man, I was listening to this conversation this week on Clubhouse, and I was looking in the chat section, and it was a brother going back and forth with with the so-called Christian, right? And it's already like a lot of people, they have like their like agenda, and so this Christian's point is always, the 2/3, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's 2/3 of Israel. Like he always says that because he just anti-Israelite, really, right?
Right.
But a brother asked
the Most High too.
God,
I can't wait to do that lesson.
God, and a brother asked him. He said, "How do you know you're not the 2/3 other 2/3, right?" And the brother said, "I could guarantee you, I'm not."
How?
Hey, it's some Christians say the darndest things, right? Like it was, and it kind of reminds me of because there's a doctrine of some folk that say that that they're saved and they are of the elect, they will make it. And again, like I always think about that when I read this passage, or when people say that, I think about this passage because it says, if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear?
All right.
So it's like, you ever heard of the phrase, you make about it the skin of your teeth?
Right.
It's like, you really don't know. So you have to, and that's why even Peter, he says, you have to strive to make your calling to election sure. So like you're constantly doing these things, and he speaks about adding righteousness, virtue, knowledge, etc. So like you have to make sure you're adding and perfecting these things on the daily so that you can be saved. So it's not like, yeah, I guarantee I'm a be there. Like, no, I don't think any man walking on the earth can say such a thing. Like it's crazy to even speak like that, and it's prideful, you know what I'm saying? And this is actually an evil thought. But yeah, definitely beautiful lesson, man, and I yield back to you.
All praises. And I've seen some mighty brothers that I really respect, and I feel like very knowledgeable, have a lot of wisdom, and I've heard them even say, I hope, because that's the attitude, and that's the mind frame you have to be in when knowing what we know. Like, it's no telling. You don't know. We just hoping, And then if we just saying we know, like, what are we basing that on? We basing that off of something we're doing, not off his grace and his mercy that's allowing it to actually happen. Like, why you feel like you just gonna make it? We shouldn't feel that way. We should just always be hoping for grace and mercy. But all praise to the Most High. The water for reading out. All praise to the Most High for everybody that was able to join the stream at this late time, and everybody that's gonna see the stream. Share with your family. Share with your friends. Prophecy is a very important thing. We're gonna definitely be going into a whole lot more prophecy real soon. I like reading prophecy and like going into prophecy. So all praise to the Most High, man. You can take us out.
All praises. All praises to the Most High. We'll close it out with Numbers 6 and 24 on down. Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. And with that, I'll say shalom.
Shalom, shalom, family.
It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Salvation. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Salvation. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Yeah, ain't many you call, but few get chosen. Matthew 22 and 14. My righteousness gonna exceed that of the Pharisees.